All right, a U.S. and British coalition launched a barrage of strikes against the Houthis. We're going to go straight to. All right, I guess we're going straight to Robert O'Brien. We thought we were going to Peter Doocy. Maybe we'll pick up Peter Doocy, but we have Robert O'Brien, much better looking, smarter, and there he is. Happy New Year, Mr. O'Brien, Ambassador O'Brien. All right, so look
Happy New Year, Larry.
This is from John Kirby. I'm just going to read this. We don't need the reporters. Houthis pulled the trigger, but Iran provided the guns. So my question to you is twofold. Number one, what did the coalition accomplish by hitting the Houthis, which I think is a good idea, finally, better late than never. And then when do we go after the paymaster and the gun provider, Ambassador O'Brien?
Well, thanks, Larry. Great to be with you again, and Happy New Year to you and your viewers. Listen, it was about time we hit the Houthis. I mean, we had a bunch of tribesmen in the mountains of Yemen shutting down one of the major sea arteries in the world, stopping shipping, causing inflation, causing supply chain backups. And we did nothing about it for weeks and months. And they were doing it with homemade drones and cheap Iranian cruise missiles. And I think what we're going to find out is that the strike was very ineffective. I mean, we went after mud huts and corrugated tin warehouses and mortar pits. And we used, the Pentagon is touting the fact that they used 100 precision weapons. Well, those go up to $1 million each. So we spent $100 million to destroy a bunch of mud huts, and we didn't go after the Houthi leadership. As you mentioned, we didn't go after the Iranian armament factories that are making the drones and the cruise missiles. We didn't go after the Iranian oil supply chain, which is funding all this. So what did we accomplish from this hit? And I think the only thing we accomplished is we got rid of a bunch of weapons that were in need in a high-intensity conflict with China and Taiwan. So who wins again? The Chinese.
The Chinese. Yeah, Robert, I didn't know this. You're talking about mud huts and so forth. Did they not go after, rocket launchers or command and control bases in Yemen to get these Houthis? I mean, was it as weak as you're suggesting?
I mean, command and control in Yemen is a hut that three guys sit around in, and then they walk outside with a cheap rocket or a do-it-yourself $100 drone and shoot it off. So, no, I mean, we didn't do anything that's going to affect the Houthi behavior. And we didn't go after their leadership. And the Houthis themselves came out and said, hey, we're going to keep going. This attack has no impact on us. And they went to the mosque on Friday and shouted death to America, death to Israel, death to the Jews, and victory to Islam. So, I mean, we don't seem to be having any effect. And the Iranians, of course, are laughing because the administration still, I mean, there's been no reimposition of sanctions. There's been no enforcement of sanctions. I mean, President Trump had bankrupted the Iranian regime. When we were in office, they were down to $4 billion in foreign currency reserves. And now they've got $70 billion in foreign currency reserves. They've made hundreds of billions of dollars selling oil. While we're putting up charging stations here and going bankrupt doing it, the Iranians are making a fortune selling oil. I mean, none of this makes any sense, and we continue to appease Iran. So until we're going to get serious with the Iranians, they're going to keep going after our soldiers in Syria and in Iraq and our sailors in the Red Sea and our friends in Israel. It's really a shame.
Robert, who plans these things? Because the Defense Department didn't really have its top dogs. I mean, this is a terrible story, the Lloyd Austin story, and the second in command was on vacation in Puerto Rico. I mean, I'm just wondering, so here we go, we launched this strike, and we presumably had negotiations running up to this strike, but was the Defense Department present, do you think? Or was the Defense Department absent, do you think? Or, you got a lot of political guys in the national security area that all this troubles me enormously.
Well, listen, the first thing I want to say is Lloyd Austin has cancer. Let's not forget that. And our prayers are with him, and we hope he recovers quickly from his surgery and the post-surgery complications. But what concerns me is when we were in the White House, Larry, you knew this, and this is something I told President Trump I'd do when I became his national security advisor. I didn't want to micromanage how we ran our military operations from the White House. I wanted the Defense Department to run those operations. But from what Senator Tuberville said and what you hear is that these target lists and things are being determined by young political staffers in the White House. And I hope someone at the Department of Defense is involved in these operations and it's not being run out of the old executive office building by some junior NSC staffers. But this has been this is something the Obama administration did. They micromanaged the war in Afghanistan from the EOB. Yeah, and I hope it's not happening now, but the target selection is, at least what we see so far is pretty weak. Again, the Houthis don't seem to be very impressed by it. The Iranians clearly aren't impressed by it. And if we're going to really restore deterrence in the region, we've got to do what we did under the Trump administration. So it's using all the tools of national power, our economic tools, our sanctions tools, our military tools, to let the Iranians know that if they keep this up, that there's a price to pay. But so far, they've been, whether it was a Hamas terrorist attack on Israel, the hundreds of attacks on our soldiers in Iraq and Syria, shutting down the Red Sea with the shipping, there's been no consequence whatsoever for Iran. Zero consequence, Larry.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't they keep doing it?
I mean,
it's human nature.
I've said many times, I mean, look, I wish General Austin all the best, no question. But that's a separate matter from the organizational breakdown and the communications breakdown. So your point, you just have to wonder whether a bunch of junior staffers in the White House, all that is really something that should be brought out. I mean, I think you've got to have, House and Senate hearings on this whole story. So in your judgment, just last one here, you think the Houthis will have more missiles or whatever it is, they're going to go after more ships, and unless and until we go after Iran, Iran will keep unleashing its proxies and causing mayhem in the Middle East. Nothing after this has really changed. That's what you're saying.
That's my take on it. Look, I'm glad we hit the Houthis back, but look, let's face it, the Houthis are sending up drones that cost a couple $100, and we're responding to their mortar launch pit or their, quote, command and control hut with a $1 million Tomahawk missile. I mean, the return on investment in your language, in your world, Larry, it ain't very good. So if we're going to, you take out the drone manufacturing site in Iran, that might be a good return on investment. But trying to, shoot one guy on the back of a camel, launching a drone at you with $1 million missile, that doesn't make any sense. And again, the only winner here is our stocks are already low. They're low because of Ukraine. They're low because of Israel. And now we're expending these expensive missiles against guys with AK-47s and mud huts. Who wins here? Again, it's the Chinese win, the Iranians win, the Russians win, and the American taxpayer loses. This is not a good way to run a 7-Eleven, that's for sure.
Yeah, I got it. Robert O'Brien, thank you ever so much. We appreciate it.